Hey, good afternoon. Bill Caskey here for another Facebook Live experiment. Now, it's not an experiment anymore. It's the third week. I will tell you this, though. I'm sitting on a stool that just came apart about 5 minutes ago. So if all of a sudden I drop out of sight, Travis will just continue, and I'll do it from the ground, and Travis will have to pan the camera over. But almost fell, so hopefully this will not be an outtake. Looking forward to our session today. We're going to be starting in about 30 seconds. For those of you who are watching this post-event, you can probably fast forward, say, a minute and get to the good stuff. Had a lot of people on last week. I encourage you, if you like what you're hearing here, which I hope you will, at least we've created it with that in mind, is we'd love for you to share this, some of your colleagues and friends, and of course it'll be available on this page after the event is over. We also, this is also the 2X podcast. If you have not subscribed to that, make sure you do. It comes out every Tuesday. For the time being, this is the 2X podcast. So if you're watching this, you won't miss anything, but it will be probably breaking away and doing some other 2X podcasts. So make sure you go to iTunes and subscribe to it. Every week, take a look at some ideas on how you can double your business. So, are we ready to start, Travis? Is it three bells? Let's go. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to remind you something that we did last week, told you about. If you'll go to billcaskey.com/pro, you will get a chance to download this Are You an Amateur or Are You a Pro worksheet. And it's got 10-ish items on it. And it's got what an amateur does and what a pro does. And I think it's a nice way for you to kind of reminds us of where are we really operating from? Are we operating as a sales professional or as a sales amateur? And I know most of you are sales pros, so hopefully you're up toward the right end of that. So go to billcaskey.com/pro to get your download. That is from the course called New Rules of Selling Online, which some of you already know about as well. I had a question after last week's event, and I want to read it to you because it's probably a very relevant question to all people. Here it is. Bill, thanks for doing the Facebook Lives. Very interesting content. My company has never brought training like this into us, so this is awesome. Here's my plight. I sell a service that is 50% higher than most customers plan on paying for similar services. So when I enter the process, they think I'm at X price, and really I'm at 1.5X price. It shocks them. How do I use your principles to change their reaction from being shocked to being eager? Oh, Josh, you don't ask for much there, do you? So here's my question is, Josh, did you go back and watch the last episode? Because in the last episode, we talked about getting clear. We talked about getting clear on your positioning. This is my as you probably know, this is my multimedia effort. Getting clear on positioning. Are you really clear about how you are positioning your value? Because if you're not positioning it properly, if you sound like everybody else that's out there pitching the same kind of product, and yours is $10,000 and everybody else's is $6,000, then it's going to be obvious. The customer says, you know what, these are all about the same. I'm not hearing anything different. Number 2, convince and persuade is dead. Stop convincing the prospect to do anything. It's dead. Stop convincing, stop persuading, and watch that last episode. Number 3, we talked about examining your thinking, not just your behavior. How are you thinking about things? We're going to get into that a little bit more today. How are you thinking about your product? How are you thinking about your value? How are you thinking about you in the sales process? Do you bring value just because of who you are, and by showing up, do you bring value? So I think if we examine our thinking first, that's going to make a ton of difference. Number 4, your role is to guide. Remember we talked about the hero versus the guide. I know you want to be the hero, but you're not. I'm not. Your customer is the hero. You are the guide on their journey between where they are and where they want to be. I believe guides make a lot more money than heroes do. So you can be the hero of your life when someone's calling on you, but while you're calling on a prospect, you're the guide, they're the hero. Second to last, be skeptical, be resigned. I don't want you to be eager. I hear this all the time. I was in a training last week, and we did a little role play. I just started working with this company, and we did a role play, and everybody was so eager and so proud of what they do, and it just kind of sucked the space between them and the prospect in the role play. So I want you to be passionate about your product. I want you to believe in it. Don't be so eager. Every bit of eagerness you put into the mix is eagerness they can't have. You suck the eagerness out of the process. I don't want you to do that. I want them to be eager to solve their problem and get to a new level. And then the last one is your process must match your value. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on that today. So why are we even doing this premium deal? You know, how to sell a premium service or premium product in a price-sensitive or in a commodity world. And the reason is because probably everybody on this webinar, on this call, has a premium product. You're not the low end of the pole. You're not low bid. You don't want this to turn into a commodity dungeon fight where everybody's battling for low bid. Seth Godin calls that the race to the bottom. I don't want to be at the bottom. I don't want you to be at the bottom. We will never see each other at the bottom. Let's make that as our promise to each other. I want you to race to the top, to the summit, to the top of the mountain. I want you to be at a higher level. I never want you to race to the bottom. And so if you cannot articulate and depict your premium value, then it's going to be very hard for you to command a premium price. I had a conversation this weekend with a young lady who is in that process of looking at how do I depict my value? How do I give voice to it? How do I breathe life into my value so that they see what I do is here and they see what everybody else is doing is here? Start asking those questions. I was at an event last week and I was talking to a gentleman who wasn't a client, but I was asking him about the product and I said, are you a premium product or are you low end? He goes, oh no, we're premium. I said, what's the biggest challenge with selling it? And his answer, although it was a little surprising because he was a seasoned vet, it was worth listening to. And he says, well, our product is better. And I said, well, how do you prove that? He goes, well, we get into an arm wrestling match about our product features versus their product features. I said, no, you can't do it that way. You cannot arm wrestle the prospect over features and functions. Don't do it. I think you should bring and command value because of who you are, because of your story, because of your message. So I always say that this premium product gets sold better when it is positioned properly and not wrapped all around the product. So what we're going to do today, last week we talked about getting clear on your position, getting clear on your message. Today we're going to talk about getting ready. And then next Tuesday we'll talk about getting going, getting to some action. So I've got several things I want to share with you today. Number one, I think the best way to get ready to do this and to get ready and go position your product, and when you're in sales processes with interacting with people, you have to practice. Again, last week in this meeting, guys were all eager. And I said, look, whoa, chill a little bit. Let's not be so eager to sell something. Let's be eager to hear the prospect's problem. We just need to shift our eagerness. How's that? See what I did there? I want you to shift your eagerness. I don't want you to be all enthused. I want them to be enthused about getting their problem solved. So what we did is we practiced. We spent an hour just going around the room. There were 9 people in the room, and I gave them an assignment, and we practiced. And I said, John, not quite there yet. Let's go to Bill. Let's go to Carl. Let's go around. And we came back to John again. We practiced for at least an hour. But by the time they left the room, they all had it. Did you hear that? They all had it. That wasn't a very good one. They all had it because they'd practiced. They'd practiced verbally. It's not unlike voice lessons or not unlike any kind of performance. When you get in front of your prospect on the phone, web, face-to-face, it's showtime. Are you ready? Or is it the first time you've ever said the words when you're communicating this to the prospect? So my kind of umbrella theory here is that the more you practice, I'm going to give you what to practice on, but the more you practice these things, the better you're going to get at it. So okay, here's number one. You have to practice explaining your value to your prospect. You have to practice explaining your value. And at the bottom I say, explain your value through your customer's eyes. So here's the way I want you to do that. I want you to spend a little time, take some notes today, and I'm going to give you some assignments that I want you to write. And I know sometimes when I give sales professionals assignments where they have to write, they say, you know what, I'm not a good writer, I need to wing it, I don't want to be scripted. I'll tell you what, the highest paid among us are scripted in some way. We at least have a sense of what we want to say, how we want to say it. So this assignment here, is about writing out how do you position your value in front of prospects. Your value must be positioned one of two ways. Ready for this? Write this down. Either it needs to position you as a solver of problems or as a helper to achieve opportunities. So you're either helping the customer run away from pain or frustration or lack, helping them run to a brighter future, a new goal, better objectives, more profit. And I know a lot of you are business-to-business sales, and so P&L makes a big difference. How are you going to help them improve their profit and loss statement? And I would bet everybody on this Facebook Live can do that. But if you're not positioning yourself that way through the customer's eyes, then you're giving up an important part of your value. So, number one, I want you to talk about what you do through the eyes of the prospect, either a solver of a pain or a seeker of an opportunity. One way to do this is when you first start talking to somebody, and let's say you've been invited in and you've got a premium product and you don't know this person, you don't know if they're a premium buyer or not. I don't really care, but you need to start somewhere. And what I would start with is, look, let me share with you the kinds of companies that use us and what they use us for, and then you can tell me if you have any of these issues. Okay? It's a very simple little agreement, a little upfront. It's saying, I'll share with you who uses us and why they use us, and then you can tell me if anything relates. So that's your sentence stem for that exercise. Explain your value by talking about the problems you help people with or the pleasure you help them achieve. Got it? All right, I thought you did. Saw your head shaking. Number two, I want you to practice the 5 questions you get. The 5 questions you get, either you actually get them from prospects or they're thinking them. A lot of times people will not ask you the real question. So what they'll ask is they'll say, well, tell me, when did your company start? When was it founded? They really don't care when it was founded. What their real question is can I trust you? Are you going to be around? Do you have enough gravitas that you're going to be able to solve my problem? Do you have good people? How many people do you have in your organization? It's really a question of, do you have good people that can help me? So be very careful about answering the question that's posed, and instead come up with the 5 questions that you think they are thinking. So one question, I just had a coaching call today with a client, and we're going through this exercise, and he says, well, I want them to ask me the question, are you credible? And that's an okay question, but that question comes a little bit further in the process. The initial question is, why should I even care about what you do? Why does what you do even matter to me? Why should I even be interested in this? Why should I be looking at this? That's a question that if you understand the answer to, you can lead with that. So what are those 5 questions that they either ask, or they should ask, or you think they're thinking, you believe they're thinking? And answer those questions, because you will get those questions. You will get them. And when you get that question, you can't stammer, you can't go back and forth and wing it and go on a crazy rabbit trail and take 25 minutes to answer one question. I see that all the time. Be clear, be concise. That's an awesome question. Let me take a stab at it, and then you tell me if I've answered it. And then answer the question. So write down the 5 questions and write down your answers to the 5 questions. Good. All right, number 3. Practice number 3 is the story of difference. You are different in some way. Your difference is the thing that gives you incremental value, extra value. It's probably the thing that defines your premium value. So is there difference in the process that you take people through? Is there difference in the delivery? Do you guarantee something that maybe other vendors do not guarantee? I want you to make a short list. It's probably going to be a short list of your differences. Then I want to have you explain the why behind the difference. So let's suppose that one of your differences, you know the way the other people in your market sell, and let's say that you go through a much more extensive filtering process up front to make sure you understand the pain, the problems. You do an analysis, and that takes 3 or 4 hours to do. Let's say nobody else does that. You have to explain to the customer why that is important for them. Not just, hey, we do an extra process. We do filtering, and it takes us 3 or 4 hours, and you get an awesome analysis at the end of that. That's not enough. You've got to give it some life. You've got to give it the why. Let me tell you why we do that, Mr. Prospect. We do it because we've seen so many times where people think they're buying something and they don't get what they want, or the problem hasn't been satisfactorily, about ready to fall off here, hasn't been satisfactorily defined. You've got to help them define the problem. And when you do that, you're bringing value. Whether you sell anything to them or not, you're bringing value. So that is your third assignment. And next week, we're going to get into a little bit of the system itself. And I'll give you a little preview here of it. There, how was that? You can see what you'll do is you'll take a screenshot of this. This is the system itself. We're going to go through that next week. I'm going to share with you when it talks about getting going. I'm going to teach you exactly how to walk through the process with prospects where you have a premium value solution. Make sure you share this. We'd love to see it. You share it and comment. Make some comments. If you have any questions, make sure you ask them in the box below, and I will handle them next time. Another question that I didn't get to today that came in prior to this event today. So, Travis, did I miss anything? Go to BillCaskey.com and download the amateur versus pro sheet, and there's plenty of good stuff there. And also, if you want to take a look at some of the other blogs and the free resources at BillCaskey.com, you can do that. Awesome job today. See you next Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and we're going to talk about getting going. See you then. Bye. Thanks for coming.